Hi, I'm Joel Schrenk, voiceover talent and entrepreneur. Part of growth, part of building a business, definitely part of leadership is being able to accept feedback. But I don't know if you're like me, I actually have a hard time accepting feedback. Partially because sometimes my big fat ego gets in the way, but also just because I feel offended by it sometimes. I feel like, it's like you're being too critical of me. I don't like that. And the problem is, one of the best ways to grow is by taking feedback from other people. So, how do you accept feedback? How do you take feedback? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm here out of my sound booth in my control room. I got my cup of coffee, sitting in my comfy chair, and I hope you'll join me as we speak easy about accepting feedback. Simplifying concepts that really help you in life, relationships, and business. This is the Speaking Easy podcast. So first of all, what's the point of feedback? Why do we need feedback? Well, like I mentioned, really in order to grow, you need to be able to take feedback from other people. We have a tendency to sometimes either be more critical of ourselves than we need to be, or less critical of ourselves than we need to be, depending on the situation. If you've got a big ego like me, you might be a little bit less critical of yourself in doing things that maybe you're not quite as good as you thought you were. Or perhaps you might actually be really good at doing something, but you get some of that imposter syndrome. You feel like, am I really actually good at this? Like, I feel like I'm doing a good job, but like maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And I have definitely felt both of those things throughout my life and career. And one of the best ways to ground yourself and to figure out where you really are in a situation, how good you really are at doing something, or how you really need to grow is by getting feedback from others. So number one, in order to get feedback, sometimes you have to ask for it. Especially if you've been the type of person in the past that hasn't really taken feedback very well, you really need to go asking for it because people might actually be too afraid to give it to you. If you haven't been the type of person that's really had an open policy towards feedback and been taking it freely and willingly, people might just shy away from giving it to you after a while, and you actually have to go looking for it. What I did in the past year was I solicited my clients who I've worked with in the past. I talked to my friends and my family. I talked to coworkers, people that I've worked with, people that have been my supervisors, people who I have just known in my life who've been friends, and I've asked all of them to give me feedback. And for the most part, I asked them to give me feedback based upon a specific set of criteria. So I was asking them to fill out some sort of a little form where they were all answering the same sort of questions about me personally, areas that I need to grow, strengths that they see, weaknesses that they see, and things that they think I could improve on. And I asked all of the people basically everyone I knew, I asked this. Now, sometimes you may not need to go to every single person you know for feedback. You may not really want to do that. And sometimes it's best to start with people that you're really close to. For me, when I was reaching out to my clients for voiceover to ask for feedback about the things that they liked that I was doing, areas that they thought I could improve on, I didn't go to like my newest client who I really had only done a couple of jobs with, who I didn't know very well. No, I reached back to the people who I've been working with for years. And I said, hey, I'm just touching base. If you have a chance, fill out this online survey or just shoot me an email and tell me what you think I'm doing well and areas that you think I could improve on. And I got some good feedback from people just by doing that. Plus, as kind of a marketing bonus, it was an opportunity to kind of connect with people and just, put my name in front of them again. And that's always a good thing. But if you've got lots of good family and friends are always good people to go to. Coworkers, people that you work with, your supervisors, your subordinates, people who work for you. Ask all of them for feedback. And I think it's a good idea to ask for that sort of stuff maybe once a year. Reach out to everybody who you're friendly with and ask them for some honest feedback. And one of the best ways to get honest feedback is by making it anonymous. You can make free surveys online that people can fill out anonymously, or you can send them all the same form and then have a friend compile it all together so that it's anonymous and you don't know who filled out the form. It's all just filled in blank and with no name, and you can have somebody else compile all the information for you. That's what I did, actually. And you get all that feedback and it tells you, what are you doing well? It gives you that sort of compass, that direction that you need for what's the next thing that I need to do? What am I doing well and what do I need to work on? Number 2, listen. Now, this is a big one. I've talked about this many times. I did an entire video on it that I'll link in the description below. But this is vital to accepting feedback, especially if you're getting feedback in person, which sometimes happens. Sometimes you're going to get feedback that's not something that you solicited. Somebody's just going to be coming and giving you feedback. And you need to learn to listen to that person. And it's difficult to do sometimes because sometimes it does feel like they're being critical of you. But focus on the other person. Listen to the words that are coming out of their mouth. Focus on how they're feeling. Focus on the words they're saying. In my listening video, I talk about reflecting a lot. Reflect back what they're saying to make sure that you understand what the feedback is that they're giving. Sometimes some of the frustrations that we have around feedback are because we don't really understand what the person is saying. There's been so many times where I'll hear something, but it's not actually what the person was trying to say. I'm hearing it in kind of a negative tone, but the person's not trying to be negative. And so confirm with the person, what are they saying? Reflect back to them, oh, so what I hear you saying is that you need me to work on turning in my stuff sooner, or whatever the heck it is, Focus on what they're saying, repeat back to them so you understand, and really listen to them. Number 3, recognize that you don't necessarily need to take all the feedback that's given to you. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to it. I'm not saying don't make the person feel heard when they're giving you feedback. That's vital to let the person know that you understand them and that you've heard their feedback. Take what they're saying, but you don't need to do it. If you're getting feedback from one person and you don't agree with it, or perhaps you're getting contradictory feedback from some other people that contradicts what this person is saying about you, you don't have to do it. You can still listen to them. You can still make the person feel heard. They can feel like they've given you what they wanted. They can feel like they've come to you and approached you with whatever feedback they had, whatever criticisms they might have of you. And honestly, just doing that will make that person feel better. It'll make that person feel like they were heard. And if it's somebody who works for you or who works with you, it'll definitely help in furthering that relationship and help that person to feel like you actually care about what they have to say, even if it feels like it's critical of you. But you don't have to do it. Use your best judgment. If you don't agree with the feedback, then don't do it. But do take it under advisement. Take it under consideration. Don't just brush it off like they didn't say anything. That's too easy to do. I'm absolutely not saying to do that. Take it under consideration. Actually give it some thought. Maybe ask some other people, hey, so-and-so said this about me, and I was just curious if you've noticed this too. Is this something that I do that I need to work on? If they say, yeah, absolutely, you really need to do that, well, maybe that's something to take under consideration. But if you talk to a few other people and they say, nah, that person's they got something going on in their own life, I wouldn't pay any attention to what they say. Well, then maybe you just ignore the feedback. Take it under consideration, but if it doesn't make sense to do the feedback or take the feedback and actually incorporate it into what you need to do to grow, then don't do it. So last, number 4, don't shoot the messenger. And what I mean by that is, take the feedback for feedback, even if it's not given in a very eloquent or even kind way. Not everybody has read all the books on how to give feedback. Not everybody's watched all the YouTube videos on how to best give feedback to somebody so that they feel good about themselves afterwards. But that doesn't invalidate the feedback. Just because somebody's coming at you and maybe they're even upset, maybe they're frustrated, maybe they're very brazen and very, rude in the way that they're giving the feedback that they're giving to you. But that doesn't invalidate the point. Maybe the point that they're making is actually quite valid. They just feel very strongly and passionately about it, and they don't know how to calm themselves down enough to give it to you in this nice, eloquent way. But take the feedback still under advisement. Again, ask some other folks about it and see what they think, even if it's not given in the nicest possible way. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope that you'll give me some feedback in the comments, or give me some feedback by giving me that like, thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and we'll talk to you next time.